Hi, welcome to the next episode of Protein Bar, where you get bite-sized gains for anything bodybuilding and fitness. My name is Jun Hao. I'm your host for today, and I'm glad to have Jordan here to help share about our topic that we're going to talk about today. Jordan is a seasoned competitor in bodybuilding and also martial artist.
Yes. So I was previously a martial artist. I tried mainly. Well, I'm mainly specialized in boxing, but I used to do kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, jiu-jitsu only for a short while. But then I realized I still prefer strikes, so I dived into boxing.
Yeah, so Net is not a person you want to fuck with, lah. So
Yeah, and then I used to be a chef as well for 7.5 years in the culinary industry, and right after that, I went back into fitness.
So today we want to talk about the more underrated topics in bodybuilding, because if we go to we get to reference a lot on social media now, because that's mainly, especially in Malaysia, where we have very limited sources of media and digital content. We tend to look out to the Western side because they are more developed and more mature in terms of the industry, so you get more content out of it. Then our narrative basically started or derived from there naturally, right? Because we consume from that part of the world. In the whole bodybuilding industry, they tend to glorify the grind. It's always, hustle, you got to hustle, you got to work hard. There's no rest day. You have to go big or go home. All gas, no break, all the kind of quotes that actually glorify the fact that you need to work hard. Yes, granted that you need to work hard in order to achieve what you want. And especially from this side of the world, the Asian culture, we are really, really hard workers. And sometimes we tend to overdo it. And you prioritize that over the more crucial areas like sleep, like recovery, and like your emotional well-being, like your mental health and all that. Yeah. And naturally, that's why we want to talk to you about this, especially when it comes to, I think, maybe you can share with those who don't know the last prep that you go through. Stress management was a very big part of it, and how you actually work through it in order to really maximize that result for the show.
Yeah, stress management is definitely a big part of my last prep, because even before that, during my off season, I did not realize how stressful I really was, because coming from a chef background, we work under we are just used to working under pressure, especially when you have hot, demanding customers, and then you've got a hit chef yapping in your ear.
All perform.
Yeah. So the thing is, it took me a long time until my body just started to give up. I mean, I'm not dead, obviously, but it started showing.
I'll be worried.
I know, because living zombie. But it started to give up signs of that something's not right in the body. So it started off during my off season in 2022, where my stomach just started to bloat out of no reason. And at first I thought it was food poisoning, but then
you're eating the same thing.
I was eating the same thing.
It's very unlikely.
Exactly. And I decided to ignore it a little bit, because I thought, maybe it just go off. But after 4 weeks, nothing improved. In fact, I could only eat one meal. I only had appetite to eat one meal a day because I was starving. So I decided to get myself checked in with a GP, right? I've got a family doctor. He's my trustable doctor for over 7 years. And he couldn't diagnose what the issue was, but I told him what was going on. And he decided to recommend me to a specialist in Sime Derby. It's under Sime Derby, but it's actually Park City Hospital. So I went there to meet the specialist, even got an endoscopy and colonoscopy. So my behind is no longer a virgin. Ew. Anyway, so got that checked out, and then the doctor, after going through the entire diagnosis and stuff, he sat me down and just said, "Look, there's actually nothing wrong with you, but I am bloating on the upper part of my stomach." So he said, I need to look into if I'm actually stressed. So he asked me if I was stressed, and I was like, "What is stress?" I mean, to be honest, I've heard about the term stress.
You know the concept.
I knew the concept, but
familiar.
yeah, and I didn't know what it was, right? And then I had to talk to my coach, Malong, and then he just had a hunch for over a year that I was just super stressed out, but I just couldn't accept it because, like, I just didn't know what it was. I was like, no, not really, you know.
We run on stress.
Yes. And at the same time, because in order to cope, I did not realize in order to cope for over like 2 to 3 years, I was running high on caffeine. I was a caffeine addict. I was a caffeine addict. True story. I was a caffeine addict.
I'm still so.
Well, I took pills in the morning. I took pure caffeine pills in the morning, and I had 4 to 5 cups of strong Americano daily. That's where most of my money went to. But yeah. And then I didn't realize, even on the day off, like on Sunday when I'm in church, I would have to have at least a couple of, like a few cups of coffee and plus caffeine.
Just to stay awake.
So I was completely addicted, and I didn't realize what was really going on. And my body was just like, packing on, my cortisol level was just through the roof. So, now that's the backstory. So throughout the prep, even after that, my coach told me to, you know what, I'm going to take a drastic move. I'm going to get you to go cold turkey on the caffeine, 1 month, no caffeine. Dude, trust me, when I was sleeping, when I was attending church, and at that time, I love sitting in the front row. I was falling asleep in front of the pastor. It was embarrassing. But anyway, Holy Spirit fit me. Anyway, so
Exactly.
yeah, I knew it. Anyway, no, so like, going forward with that, I had to cure my caffeine addiction and actually start to slowly, taper back down to find out what was the issue and what actually causes my body, myself, to be extremely stressed out in the first place. So the entire process actually led towards the day one of getting back into a cutting diet, going through a cut again to prepare for my competition, like 11 months, 10 to 11 months ahead, right? So, realizing that, I didn't have enough sleep. I only slept about 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 hours a day max. And then I was just running throughout the day. And then, and when the caffeine or the coffee was taken away, I realized I was just really running just on caffeine, just on that to keep myself awake until the point where just a cup of coffee, the caffeine content in a cup of coffee couldn't sustain me. I just had to add more and more and more. So that helped me reduce my cortisol level, and that helped me analyze. Drinking less coffee. Drinking less coffee helped me reduce my cortisol level. And then I started diving into, okay, what kind of supplementations or what kind of like
do in terms of
to help reduce the stress, the physical stress at least. But the mental stress is another part where I would have to slowly take a couple of step backs and analyze what was really going on in my head. So, so in terms of supplementation, I took ashwagandha, which I found it was extremely helpful. Ashwagandha, L-theanine for like
mental clarity.
Yes, for mental clarity as well. It helped me relax, but I don't always take I don't always take L-theanine. I take it like 1 month on, 1 month off kind of cycle, so that it doesn't fully rely on it. But ashwagandha has been a part of my daily supplementation. Ever since. So. And then I also found out that taking artichoke tea will actually help your body relax, and it
does it help with sleep?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, well, it helps with relaxing your body. Okay, it has some kind of chemical reaction when it hits hot water, and then it releases something in your body, and then it just helps you sleep. I need to get back to you on the science on that part, but I shared with Manlong on that, and then he approved of it, so I started taking artichoke tea. Mainly the good quality ones is from Vietnam. So it's basically artichoke leaves or the outer part of the fruit or the flower or whatever. They dry it off and then they made it into tea powder or like in tea bags. So I found the tea bag ones that is not completely refined powder actually works the best.
Have you tried things like chamomile tea?
Yeah, I did, but it was too mild. Chamomile's too mild.
Too entry level. Yeah, okay.
Basic.
So, have you gotten to the point where you need to rely on melatonin?
No, in fact, funny story. My coach thought I was crazy because, like, when I tried taking melatonin, it only worked for the first day. The second, third, and fourth day consecutively, it did not work until the point where, you're only supposed to take between 5 to 10 milligrams of melatonin. Yeah. I took 60 milligrams. I was still awake.
I'm glad that you're still alive too.
I know, thank you. Yeah.
Oh God,
he hasn't knocked me out yet. I'm too big for that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was that insane. I didn't realize I was that highly stressed to the point where it starts messing up my entire system. So during the prep, I had to stay away from certain things and I have to control my coffee. And if, example, you know that as a bodybuilder, we love taking pre-workout before exercising. Yeah. I would be very cautious how many milligrams of caffeine there is in there. And if I'm going to have that, I wouldn't have coffee.
Or you chose a steam-free or...
Yeah, I try stimulus-free pre-workouts, but I still like this stuff. So...
Stimulant. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah. So that will be on the external side where I actually try to relax my body. And then the next part will be I have to learn how to actually relax my mind. I'm the type of person that tends to want to get everything done immediately. Because again, coming from that chef line, everything must be done immediately and properly. The whole journey and the whole process was to learn how to take a couple of steps back, let go. And what I like, example, if I had tasks that I could drag on a little bit, it's not.
I prioritize.
Yeah, so I deprioritized that. That's right. And then I started doing that, and that it did help me a lot in my preps. That because one of the side effects one of the responses my body would have, or you can call it side effects. I like to call it side effects because that will have when I'm actually super stressed up is that I hold a lot of body water to a point that
water retention.
Yeah, somebody commented that, man, you sound like a pregnant baby. Yeah, so I don't know if that's true, but anyway.
But when you are at that state, does it impact your performance in the gym and such?
No, in terms of performance, it did not, but it did affect my recovery. Yeah, it did. So it's not directly in terms of when I'm performing, lifting the weights, but in terms of recovery, it did.
But at that point, do you take a break from...
I had to take forced breaks. If it's like, if my body was just too stressed up and I'm not recovering properly, and then I would wake up like super fatigued, I would talk to my coach about it, and then he was like, dude, this week you're only training 1, 2 to 3 times a week. You're getting 4 days off, and then next week we'll see how your body is. And then usually I would need to take like forced break for like 1 or 2 weeks, and then just to reset. And then during that process, I will have to try to maintain my diet and at the same time,
you're going to sort out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it's very crucial to have other areas in life to be sorted.
Yeah,
and prepared in place so that you don't have to worry too much, or these other external sources will not be causing much more problem while you are trying to relax and perform your best. And I guess a lot of times we are so focused and so driven in the workout part. No. We really deprioritize the fact that we need to rest.
Yeah.
So those are both ends of the stick that we need to take care of.
Yeah, and then and also I find what what the other thing that I found that was helpful in helping me to relax my mind is actually to just open up about my issues and talk to friends, talk about it. So like I would have like, well, there's not, I'm not going to keep it a secret. We are friends. So there's sometimes I will actually talk to you about it on certain topics in order to help to see if like there'll be another, to get another perspective on it, and then we'll try to solve the issue together. And then you've been a great help for me. And then sometimes I will talk to my coach about it. Sometimes I talk to his wife Marissa about it, and talk to some other friends about it. Like I'll have a few support
outlet
people. Yeah. Just to really
regulate a bit.
Yeah. That helped with my mental stress a lot.
Yeah. So when it comes to managing the stress, managing all these other parts, there is usually taken too much of a backseat, because those are not glamorous, right? It's not like when you work out, you can see you working very hard, you look very good on stage and all that. But the stress management part, the sleep part, the recovery part is literally just, it's very passive. It's not nice.
And I find that within the bodybuilding and the fitness industry, it's not a topic that's talked about a lot. So I'm glad that you brought this up.
Yeah, I'm also very, very glad that it's much more prevalent in the social media as well. So it's something that we need to look into.
Yeah.
And also give yourself a break sometimes, because you are really putting your body in you are using your body very much compared to a normal sedentary person.
Yeah, actually.
And we definitely need to rest more and be very, very mindful about
Rest
it.
is super important. So like with this experience, I actually help my clients. Well, I'm a PT. I do PT and online coaching as well. So I do help my clients who are going through these situations like that, especially from work and their personal life, to actually help bring them through this, and also help them to solve and clear their minds, especially. Yeah. So that experience really helped me a lot in order to understand.
Yeah. Thank you, Jordan, for sharing this. We hope that this also gives another perspective to look into recovery, stress management, and also sleep, beyond just the thing that you always see on the social media. Grind. But you also need to rest hard while you work hard.
This is part of the training.
Yep. Part of discipline as well. So for the next episode, we'll be talking about bodybuilding in a slightly older age, slightly. So please stay tuned while we really deep dive into it.